All right, guys, welcome aboard again. This time we are at the August 16th edition of the Mac Forum Sunday Video Chat. This is your host, Sly Dude. We're in the broadcast bunker here, hiding out from all my Windows using buddies. We'll pass on, as usual, a variety of Mac news, Mac Forums updates, the occasional tip and trick. Got quite a few of those. Well, we got what probably will amount to a short broadcast tonight, but that's okay. Hopefully you'll find some useful information here. As of about 5 minutes before the show, we had a total of over 280,000 members, 280,340 to be exact. About 4,600 of them, 4,700 are fairly active users. The newest member is, let's see, Jason Unweg, unless I mispronounced that there. Sorry about that, Jason, if I messed that up. We hope that you'll find your membership useful. Keep in mind, for those of you that are catching the show just kind of by accident, you can search the Mac Forum collection of stuff without being a member. But in order to ask a question, or be able to really post an answer if you know the answer to a question, you have to be a member. The basic membership doesn't cost you anything. It's free. So we hope that you'll enjoy it. You'll come in and enjoy the fun. It's a great place to be on the internet if you're looking for a lot of knowledgeable Mac folks to interact with. Also, want you to keep in mind too, with Mac Forum, you'll notice if you've been lurking the forum before, we got a new forum look recently. I'm laughing a little bit because some of our members are not so sure what they think of the new look yet. I'm still getting adjusted to it a little bit. It seems to be a little more open. I'm still getting used to the layout where some of the things are compared to where they used to be. But I think you'll find it kind of interesting. It seems to be a little easier to read, at least for me. Some of the members don't quite agree with that, but you'll still find quite a large selection of information. The Mac Forum blog gets stuff added to it periodically as our members can get around to getting that stuff off the presses. We've got, as usual, the collection of stuff, both posts from our members asking for help and answers to those questions. So check that out. If you're finding the forum useful, consider becoming a premium member. One of the benefits that gets you is the ability to see the forum without ads. And you also get access. There's a special thread for premium members there. They comment back and forth with each other. So check that out if you like. And let's get right on into the rest of the Apple news. On Mac Forum this week, of course, a lot of the time has been devoted to questions about the new forum layout, whether people like it and whether they didn't. There were a couple of bugs the first day or two. I think those have gotten pretty much worked out. As you experiment, we'd like to know, if you see something that you think needs to be improved or you're having an issue, let us know about that. Even if you're not a member, the other way that you can get hold of us, there is a contact us link. That'll take you to a page that is read by the moderators in case there are some issues that we don't know about. If you're planning on spamming us, don't bother. A couple of our mods are pretty good at getting rid of those kinds of posts, so you're kind of wasting your time. Our members generally don't answer those kinds of threads, so feel free to check that out, and I hope that you enjoy the forum. I see that we have a couple of people that are supposed to be watching tonight, so welcome everyone. I see that Dennis was planning on watching. That'll be great. I'm hoping he made it. and we'll see what else we come up with. Let's move on into the rest of the Apple news. This week, lots of stuff came out. Apple dropped both an iTunes update. They're up to 12.2.2. At least there's another number tagged on the back of there, but it's 12.2.2 for iTunes. I think this is predominantly a bug fix update. I think it also tried to address some of the issues with Apple Music, although it's up in the air whether that has been an improvement or not. I haven't bothered with Apple Music yet. As I mentioned last week, for me right now, I'm not having as much time to play around with music streaming, so I've kind of waited a little while. To be honest with you, I'm glad I did, given some of the problems that some of our members have reported. Not that here's where I am with that. I think the kinks are going to get worked out, and it's probably going to turn out to be a good. It's probably going to turn out to be a good update eventually. The Apple Music setup. There are a lot of things I like about it. It's just not right for me right at this moment. I think as I work the kinks out of it, it's going to be a lot more interesting. Right now, the interest, it's not a matter of it boring or being a bad idea. And neither of those. It's more along the lines of, I think there are some issues to work out. Anytime you try something on that scale, there's going to be some issues. Excuse me. Another thing that I picked up this week, I was cruising over to Cult of Mac, as I usually do in preparation for the show. I was checking things out over at Cult of Mac this morning, actually, and into the early afternoon, and I ran into a post by Rob Lefevre. Hopefully I didn't mispronounce his last name. I've mentioned some of Rob's work a number of times on the show, and he happened to mention that Apple TV, Apple is sort of quietly recalling some of the third generation Apple TV units. That what they are doing is they are contacting owners of the affected devices. Apparently the issue, whatever it is, does not affect all third generation Apple TVs. It's starting to look like it's just some that are purchased recently. Instead of issuing a mass recall, Apple is contacting the affected owners and offering them to swap out the unit. And I think they're also getting iTunes gift card for their trouble. Rob noticed this because of a post that originally appeared in Mac Rumors. Mitch Broussard over at Mac Rumors got one of those notes earlier in the week and did some checking to see if it was legit, whether it was legit or whether it was a scam. Did some checking, and apparently they are doing a limited recall on what for now looks to be a relatively small number of third generation Apple TV units. I haven't found a specific mention yet as to what exactly the issue is. If I find that, I'll be sure to post it in the notes in our forum thread. Speaking of which, you may have noticed, I didn't get last week's up, but I'll catch up. I'll try to catch up between tonight and tomorrow on the links for the last couple of shows that haven't gotten posted. And instead of double posting them here on the G Plus page, on the Google Plus page, and in the forum thread, I'm just going to post a link to the appropriate post in the forum thread, and it'll have all the information there. That'll give you one more reason to check out the forum. I'll have a link to both Rob's article and also to Mitch Broussard's rumors over there, and it'll give you as much information as we have at the moment. Speaking of Mac rumors, some of you know that I've been beta testing El Capitan because of some of the features, and every once in a while in the forum we get messages from people wanting to know should they upgrade and whether the new features are going to be worth it, wanting to know what whether their hardware will handle the new system and things like that. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, for me, the beta has been remarkably stable. I have turned in a couple of bug reports. I don't recommend most users run the public beta, but they do have over at Mac Rumors a good overview of the features that are coming in El Capitan. I'm expecting that. I don't have any inside knowledge on the release date, but it would not surprise me if it's either end of September, early October as a release date, just because that seems to be the pattern in the last couple of years. But you'll see over there, if you haven't already, if you missed the keynote earlier in the summer and you're not sure what all the hoopla is about, there's a good description over at Mac Rumors, the features that are being added with the advent of El Capitan when that finally goes to the final release. I can tell you that one of my favorite things so far is really kind of minor. For me, you know, it's not a big deal. For some people, I like some of the changes to Spotlight. The searching seems to be improved, and I like the fact that I have a little more control over where I place that window. You'll notice that the beach ball cursor has been improved a little bit. It's a little brighter. Overall, for me, El Capitan is performing a little bit faster. Other people's results may vary. I have not really delved into that with too many others, but for me anyway, I don't know if it's actually running faster, but the things that I'm doing are occurring a little bit faster. It just seems to flow a little bit easier, match with my brain a little bit better. So take a look at that. That's a real good description. Speaking of Apple rumors, the Apple car rumor has surfaced again. You know, there are certain rumors that just will not go away. One of them was that Apple was working on a TV set. Of course, the iPhone was rumored for years before it appeared. The Apple Watch was rumored for several years before it appeared. The rumor that pops up occasionally is Apple working on one of these self-driving sort of autonomous automobiles. And the most recent of those rumors has it that this time the rumor is suggesting that Apple is trying to secure time at a testing facility. If that's true, that would lead you to believe they're a little farther along in development than people have suspected. Although the car was originally not expected for probably another 5 years, that's the earliest that some of the rumors had it. This rumor, which appeared, suggests that Apple engineers were meeting, according to The Guardian, to try to, Apple would plan to turn a 2,000-acre former naval base near San Francisco into a sort of a secure testing facility. And as the story appeared, what they were trying to find out was what times would be available, because that facility is apparently also used by other people. So they're trying to work that out. I will believe the rumor of the Apple driving car until when I see it. Not saying they're not working on it or that it's not going to come to fruition, but as I say, this rumor has been around for a while. And if you've been following Macs for a while, you know that two things are true. One, some rumors even if they do deal with actual products, never really see the light of day. And two, those that do see the light of day, the time frame on them in terms of projections when they appear are usually almost always wrong. And the feature set frequently is not quite accurate with the rumors. So we'll keep that in mind. We'll keep an eye on it. If I see anything new, I'll let you know. It strikes me as kind of interesting, but other than that, I'm not going to hold my breath waiting for the Apple car. By the time I can afford a new car, maybe they'll have it working. Now, that would be a reason to buy something. Okay, we can't buy a new iPhone, so we'll go out and buy the Apple car instead. There you go. One of the things I do want to mention that just as something I noticed this week in the course of running through things. I'm also testing the iOS 9 beta, and I've got it on my phone. I ran into an interesting situation where I had forgotten to charge my phone the night before, and during that day I was in an area where my phone sometimes spends more time searching for a connection than I would like. And so as you know, when you're in that kind of situation where you're searching for a network, you lose a lot of battery. And I didn't have a lot of battery to start with. I think I started the day with like 25 or 30%. Well, at some point, I want to say maybe when I hit the 10 to 15% mode, my iPhone offered to turn itself into battery saving mode. What this does is turn on some battery saving features that are in addition to the things that you would like to always, to check. As you know, you can turn off network activity and things like that when you want to save a few, save battery. This saving feature, low power mode, kind of simplifies all of that. It's going to be, I'm pretty sure it will be in iOS 9. Looks like it's behaving the way it should. The exact final form may vary a little bit, but it looks like it's working really well. One of the things that you'll notice, you will be able to tell when your phone has gone into that mode. When I say phone, it could also apply to any iOS device. When your phone has gone into that mode, is the battery indicator, which is normally either green if you have a good deal of battery, or red as you start getting very low on battery. When it goes into low power mode, the battery indicator in the upper right of the screen turns yellow. And just so it doesn't scare you, it stays yellow. Even after you plug into the charger, it seems to stay yellow until your device is fully charged. So when I got home and I had about 3% battery life left, I was down, I knew I was in low power mode. It was on the verge of shutdown. I plugged in, looked at my phone a few minutes later, and it's still showing, even though the phone level had reached 40%, the indicator was still showing yellow. As soon as the phone hit 100%, it went back up to the normal, using the normal green battery indicator. So I think that's probably a good way to approach things. It's pretty clear and straightforward about what it does. It's very simple to invoke. It basically, if you're an iPhone power user, you kind of know what things to turn on and off. But for someone new to an iPhone or new to smartphones, they don't have to worry quite as much about is it safe to turn this off? Is it safe to turn that off? Can I turn this off? They don't have to go through all of that if they find themselves stuck in a situation where they are running low on power. All right, and also the other thing I want to mention, and I'll post a link to this. I stumbled on it just before this. Well, I stumbled on this a couple days ago, and finally got around to reading some of the stuff that I got recently from Kirk McLaren's site. Kirk did a thing where about some things that have been added to the. I'll get to that in a minute. I've just been handed a message here. I'll get to that in a second. But Kirk talked about the fact that in iTunes now, not in iTunes, but in iCloud rather, if you're an iCloud user, if you log into the iCloud website, log into your account, you will see a new feature. I'm not sure exactly when they added this. I discovered it the other day, a couple days ago. I went to log in to check something with my iTunes calendar, and one of the options that they have in there now is to restore your iCloud data, your contacts, your calendar, your reminders to a previous date. It is similar to, in concept, the screen looks, if you've ever done a restore of your iPhone through iTunes and you look back and it gives you a couple of dates, restore points, that's basically the way this looks. It's also somewhat reminiscent of the backup. The screen doesn't look like Time Machine, the Time Machine screen, but conceptually, that's what it really behaves like. You can go back to any one of several restore points and get your data back. This is not a substitute for keeping things current and making sure you have good backups, but it's a nice touch. It's a fairly simple thing to do. I'll post a link to his article because he describes it a little bit better than I do. I've only played around with it for just a few minutes to kind of get a feel for it. And I can't really tell you whether it helped in my case or not, simply because I was already having a problem with iTunes Calendar. Even if it had restored my contacts, those were all current, I wouldn't have been able to tell a difference really. So I'll let you know, but it looks like that's yet another reason to make sure that you have those things current. Keep that kind of thing current. Make sure that it's backing up to the cloud. Check that backup periodically so that if you have a situation where things aren't syncing properly, you'll know about it. And now I'll just kind of let you in on the note here. Okay.
This is what my Canadian friends just went through. This is real.
This is. I thought this was a funny. It's not. My wife stuck me a public service announcement that says, no matter what the shop says, if you get a touch, if you get a tough to remove virus, you do not have to replace the machine. Okay. Or wait. Okay, guys, give me 1 sec. I got to find out about this. Are you telling me they got a virus and somebody told them they had to replace the entire machine? Okay. All right. Listen, guys, I'm not laughing because that happened to them. It's just amazing to me. Okay. I thought she was picking at me about wanting to get the Apple car when it comes out. No. Apparently, some friends of hers that she knows through online gaming encountered a situation recently where they got a Windows virus. And they took it to the shop. And like many people, they kind of rely on the shop to tell them what they should and shouldn't do to remove the virus. I mean, most of us, we don't want to know how to fix the machine. When you get sick, you go to the doctor for the doctor to tell you what to do. And we have the same mentality about our computers. When there's something wrong, we want to take it to somebody and have them tell us what is wrong and what to do to fix it. Well, apparently they were told that the best way to remove this particular virus was to replace the machine. Now, now I have to say, no matter what kind of problem you have, okay, if a shop tells you that if you think you have a virus, first of all, you're not going to get those on a Mac, but if you're running Windows on your Mac and your Windows partition gets a virus, and the shop tells you you have to replace the machine, talk to another shop. Talk to a Mac owner. Find somebody that knows something about this. Get a second opinion.
Blast the drive or reload Windows.
I would have at least asked the question, why can't I erase the drive and reload Windows? And I realized that I know to ask that question because I've been using computers for a long time. Not everybody has, okay? I got a phone call from one of my nieces about a month ago because her Mac had acquired some of this adware garbage that's floating around, okay? She's had this computer since Christmas, not had any issues at all. And fortunately, she was not panic-stricken. Her dad just said, call Uncle Santa Claus. We won't go into why he calls me that, but hey. And what it boiled down to was some simple to remove adware. And I pick at Windows users occasionally about viruses, but I'll say even for Windows users, most of the time, most Windows users, when they think they've got a virus, they don't. What they've actually got is some kind of malware. And I realize that for some people, that's not a big difference. But it is in terms of how easy it is to get rid of. So what I'm telling you, because I know some of our users come from the Windows world, or you spend time in both, where you have Mac and Windows. Either platform, if a shop, particularly if it's a shop you've never done business with before, tells you that you need to replace your machine because you had a virus, find a new shop, let them take a look at it. There are reasons why you might take your machine in and need to have it replaced. Something's blown a logic board. Something's happened with the screen that's going to cost more than the system is worth to fix. That I can understand. But when somebody tells you you need to replace your machine because of a virus, start asking a lot of questions. That's just, that really would send up the radar and make me want to, ask them a lot of questions about specifically what virus I have. And then I'm going to take my computer and I'm going to find another shop, or I'm going to start doing some research on my own. Before I let them touch it and replace it, I'm going to know one way or the other whether they're giving me straight dope. This is just flabbergasting to me. I was expecting a note that says, no, you cannot get an Apple car. I was not expecting to be told that her buddies have been told that they have to get a new computer. Okay. I know there's things like ransomware out there, okay, that hijack your hard drive. I get that. I've heard of those in Windows. I can't tell you all the mechanics of how they work, but I know they're out there. Even in that case, replacing the system is not the cheapest fix to the problem. If necessary, pull the drive, put a new hard drive in it, and start from scratch. Unless there's something physically wrong with the hardware, that's like the absolute last thing on the list to do when you've got a virus.
She's in a panic.
Yeah, I can imagine they would be a little bit panic-stricken. It really, no kidding, and not to be picky with Windows users, because I'm running Windows on my Mac for a handful of things I need to do. this is one of those times when I'm kind of glad I'm not running Windows on a regular basis. You know, this is a very expensive piece of machinery that they're being told they need to replace. It's relatively new. Okay, somebody's trying to talk them into forking over a significant chunk of money. So when you go into these shops, if they can't give you a good explanation, and if what you're getting doesn't seem to make sense, my grandfather used to say about some things, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Well, in the computer world, the opposite is also true. If it sounds just too bad or too ridiculous to be true, it might be. You know, I've heard in instances in the past, people being told things that were just flat wrong. And I don't know if the shop was deliberately lying to them or if they misunderstood or what. I'll just give you an example from back in the old days. I used to run an Apple II GS. And a 2GS was contemporaneous with some of the Mac models, the SEs, the Mac 512s, that class of things. But it was running, the 2GS was running on a Motorola chip. And it had the ability to run both older Apple II software and new software specifically written for the Apple II, for the 2GS. And I do remember someone being told that they had to buy a completely new monitor. They wanted to run some older Apple II software on their 2GS. They bought the GS because they could run that older software. And they were then told by the tech shop they were dealing with that they had to have a completely different monitor to run that software. And that was entirely untrue. All they had to do is push about 4 keys. The 2GS had a setting called control panel that was hardwired into the machinery. Some of the functions were hardwired into the machinery. And you literally could go in there and change the level of display. Where we go in now and into the display preference pane and set the bit depth, you know, set certain things like the refresh rate and color level and all that. At that time, you could do that on a Mac too, and you could put that monitor in text mode, which is what they needed to do. Set it up like an old school text monitor. It didn't require any extra hardware. The existing Apple monitor did it. You just had to know which button to push. And this shop had them on the verge of purchasing new equipment to do something that they already had the capability of doing right out of the box. They didn't have a specialized monitor. This was, in other words, if you had walked into an Apple store, purchased, or an Apple authorized dealer, purchased a 2GS and the Apple monitor, you already had the capability to do what these folks needed to do. The problem was that particular shop, which was not an Apple dealership, was, shall we say, not exactly the brightest tools in the shed, so to speak, when it came to Mac-related and Apple-related information. Their primary business was PCs. That's what they knew, okay? It was very easy for me as a relatively novice Mac user to walk in and ask them questions that they did not know but should have known the answer to. That's the level that you're dealing with sometimes. And keep in mind that I won't say it's common in the industry, but I do know that at one point there were some shops that staffed their support people in these, not the technical crew that did the repairs, but their salespeople were A, part-time people, and B, not always the most knowledgeable people. There's nothing against part-time employees. Some of them are very knowledgeable, but some of these shops don't do a good job of screening their people out. So be careful what you're told by shops. If something sounds out of whack, you have the right to ask for a second opinion. It's your money and it's your machine. Treat it as such. Ask a lot of questions. If I have believed for the longest period of time that a technician who knows their stuff can explain to you in short sleeve English what is wrong and what needs to be done about it. And then you can take that information to another shop and have them look at it. It might cost you a little bit in terms of bench time, depending on where you take it, whether you have Apple Care and the like, but sometimes it's well worth it. I'd rather spend the bench fee and discover that all I need to do is replace my hard drive as opposed to replacing the entire machine. Speaking of replacing hard drives, I do want to mention, earlier in the show, I pointed out that Apple has released an update for Yosemite. It takes Yosemite up to 10.10.5. Some bug fixes and the like. A couple of people have noticed that they had a little trouble installing, where Yosemite gets way down to the end where it's almost done. It says it's got like a minute or two left, and then it sort of never finishes. It just stays there. Now, because this is a downloaded update, it's possible that the slowdown could be because of your internet connection and the like. But one of the possibilities is that there is a hard drive issue if it goes on for too long. One of our members, I think, mentioned that the update on one of their machines ran for something like 24 hours. Even with a slow connection, that's way longer than it should be. One of the first things I would check if that happens, if you can get your system to reboot. First of all, reboot, because sometimes that display hangs up even though the process is finished. I've had that happen where it stops on me and it says it's got like a minute to go, and 45 minutes or an hour later, it's still stuck at a minute to go. Once I was convinced it wasn't going any farther, if I cut power to the machine, sometimes it would go ahead and reboot normally, and everything would be good. The update was there and everything is good. But if you find yourself in that situation after you've given it ample time to finish, sometimes if you go ahead and power down, if it doesn't boot normally, what you can do is go into recovery mode, go into the recovery partition, and try downloading the combo updater for whatever version of the OS you're updating. In this case, for example, there's a combo updater for 10.10.5. That includes all the updates that have been released recently in one download. And that makes sure that all of them gets installed and gets installed properly and everything's up to snuff. So if you ever go through the Apple Store and do an update through the App Store, and something hangs or it just doesn't seem to be behaving right, try that combo updater. Sometimes it's a very simple fix to what seems to be a bunch of niggling little problems. Well, that's going to just about do it, folks. As I said, I'll try to get the links to everything that was discussed tonight. I do want you to duck in and take a look at the new layout. As I say, we've got an interesting debate going among the members, what they like, what they don't like about it. So things may change a little bit in the near future, but one of the things that won't change is you'll find some very knowledgeable and helpful people who don't mind answering questions. Keep in mind, before you post, there are a couple of stickies that you might want to read. One of them is called Writing a Quality Post. It gives you an idea of what kind of information we really need to be able to help you. It's some basic information about your machine and your software and the like. So I hope you find this information helpful this week. Excuse my laughing at the Windows users for the virus thing. That was just so outrageous. I couldn't help it. I do try not to laugh at you guys. I mean, getting these kinds of things is not fun. That was just such a bizarre statement. I couldn't believe it. I've heard of people being told that before, I just thought it was kind of uncommon. The first time I was told that by somebody, I thought they were yanking my chain, so to speak. I've since run into 2 or 3 people that have told me that about different shops, and these are people that I, trust regularly. So one of the things that I want you to do in the coming weeks, as I say, duck in, check out the forum, meet some of the people there. If you're becoming a new member, there's an introduce yourself thread in there. Go ahead and post something about yourself, and we'll be glad to have you. We're always welcoming new members. I want to thank you for stopping by this week, and I will see you until next week. This is your host, Sly Dude, on the Mac Forum Sunday video chat, and I'll see you in the forum.